second minute. At the second minute, the timer will clap once, or you will tap on the table once, so that you will know that you have 1 minute left. And at the when the 3 minute ends, the timer will do this 2 times, or you will do this. And at that time, you know that you should be about to finish. And after 3 minutes and 15 seconds, the timer, the host will, and all the audience as well, could all tap on the table fastly so that the speaker will go down, because nothing will be taken into account after 3 minutes. So the 15 seconds is only meant for you to wrap your speech up. So I think without further ado, we have proposition on this motion in here.
You go first before you start.
Yeah. And opposition sitting here. So I would like to firstly ask the audience in this round, which side do you go with now? The ones who vote for proposition, please raise your hands.
Is it for?
Yes. So who says that zoos should be abolished? We should forget about zoos. Who think? Not the debaters. Only the audience. Okay, sure. Then you can vote. Vote for the. Do you agree? The people who agree that zoos should be forgotten about should raise their hands now.
Don't be shy. Don't be shy. Already you're here.
And the people who believe that zoos should not be abolished should raise their hands now.
Yeah. Okay.
And for myself, I would vote in abstention because I don't want to.
Okay. Can we write the vote on the board, please? For against somebody, and those who abstain, can abstain as well. Okay.
正方是不认为不应该有的。怎么算？怎么算 ？Four side.
Neutral stand are not for or against. Okay. We will do this again after the debate, and I can tell yourself clearly who is more than. Okay.
Yeah. Without further ado, we have the honor to have Ms. Putin on the floor, and the proposition first speaker. The floor is yours. 30 minutes may begin anytime you want now.
Ladies and gentlemen, Gandhi said the greatness of a nation and moral purpose can be judged by its animal. Abuse investigations show that 35% of animals are dying at sea aquariums, which is the world's biggest aquarium chain in the world. Around 4,000 sharks, rays, fish, and jellyfish are found dead at the center. Some of them are even endangered species. We believe that animals should be kept in the wild, so zoos should be abolished. Begin with what is a zoo? According to the definition given by Merriam-Webster, a zoo is a collection of living animals which are used for public exhibition. Going back over 300 years ago, zoos are called zoological gardens, which wild and exotic animals were caught and put into cages and inserted to the wild. According to Mercer Sheffield, the origin of zoos can be found in great menageries from 12th century onwards, where a passion for collecting wild and exotic animals was a very costly pastime in Europe. Near today, the primary purpose of zoos is barely changed, instead of public exhibition. Why do you believe that zoos should be abolished? The artificial environment provided by zoos often unmet some animals' needs, impairing their health. According to National Geography, lifestyle of captive African elephants are 39 years shorter than elephants living in natural reserve, which indicate they are miserable life. First, the spaces provided by zoos are limited, while animals in the wild have complex ecosystem and habitats. The narrow spaces provided by zoos can easily cause animals to feel bored, frustrated, or depressed. For example, polar bears are large range species, but the combined closure with them is 1 million times larger than natural territory. An Oxford University study showed that these animals such as tigers, lions, and polar bears show the most evidence of stress or psychological dysfunction in captivity. Second, because of the condition provided by zoos, the interaction between some species is often unsatisfying. For example, elephants are complex social animals, but a normal elephant society usually contains 25 members, comprising mothers, aunts, juniors, and babies, and strong bondship between each of them. It is hard to replicate in zoos because many animals will naturally be large herds or family groups alone or in pairs, leaving them in great loneliness. What's more, baby elephants sometimes stand away from their mothers after born, which is traumatized and disruptive for mother elephants. The interaction between different species is often taken away by zoos because animal captivity barely have chances to interact with other species. Third, animals in captivity barely have choices over their own life, like what they want to live or who they want to live with. Because of unsatisfied needs, animals can develop neurotic and self-harming behavior called zoochosis. which is primarily linked with captivity, according to ethologists. These behaviors have been observed in 90% of UK's aquariums.
I thank the first speaker from proposition for her speech, and now I welcome the first speaker from opposition to open the case for them.
Good afternoon, everyone. We believe the definition of the zoo from proposition is narrow. The definition of the zoo from Oxford is an establishment which maintains a collection of wild animals, typically in a park or gardens, for study, observation, and or display to the public. The zoos nowadays are modernized, more than just the display of animals. Zoos can protect animals, be used for education and study of animals. And the environment of the zoos keeps developing. The cages are rarely seen. There are different big areas for different species. And the zoo aims to reduce the differences from the nature. Actually, animals live comfortable life in the zoo. As cities occupy more and more land, zoos can provide accommodation for animals, and then the zoo can protect the animals, especially injured animals and endangered animals and the orphans. There are many species only exist in several zoos. So the zoo save many individual animals and endangered species. At the same time, zoo is for visitors to appreciate animals. The young people can know the knowledge of the animals and observe the animals for their academic work. And then with the correct leading, people, especially kids, can strengthen the awareness of being kind to animals and other people. The fact is, many primary and middle schools do organize children to visit the zoo. And the zoos also have a function of doing studies of the animal, not only for that species, but also for similar species. There are many zoos with professional equipment and workers. Animals can be observed closely, so the study of animals become convenient and safe. So our opinion is the zoos should exist not only for human beings, but also for animals and for the whole world. Thank you.
Then the first speaker from opposition side, and then we welcome the second speaker from proposition to continue the
I think you mentioned about the zoo can protect animals. For this one, I think first, the zoos, one of the most significant difference between the zoo and the nature is that the zoo is artificial. No matter how similar they are made, or as you mentioned, how big the cage is made, they are still caged. So those artificial things still have a lot of difference with nature due to the lack of space and biodiversity. Therefore, the zoos can do great harm to the caged animals. Firstly, animals used to live and breathe in the nature can only do things in a limited space and fed on food provided by humans. Taking monkey as an example, they used to swim and find food in the vast jungle. Then one day, people cut them and put them into the cages. Then they can only swim in the small cages and fed by the breeders. They gradually lose the ability to hunt and even their natural instinct. Then, they don't even have the skill to survive. How you can say you save animals, then you can reintroduce to the nature. I think that is possible because they already lose all their survival skills. Then, according to a research carried out by University of Exeter in the United Kingdom, only 33% of animals such as tigers and wolves survive after being set free. So thus, how can you say that zoos are contributing to the conservation of animals? And moreover, a natural habitat can make animals find it difficult to adapt in. And you say that animals live a comfortable life. And just imagine, we human beings can feel uncomfortable after arriving at a new place. So do animals. And some of us even become seriously sick, and so do animals. So, as Miro reported, the 109 animals, even including some extremely endangered species, they died between 2014 and 2016 in Dublin Zoo. So this number is really shocking, and this also proves how harm to the animals. Additionally, I want to ask you a question. What do we want to get by hurting animals like this? Is it fair and reasonable? Thank you.
We thank the proposition second speaker for his speech, and now let's welcome the second speaker from opposition, New Liberals. Good.
Okay, hello everyone. Then let me give a further explanation about Zoom. It is the education function. The development of human society is so fast nowadays. However, the land in the world is so limited, which means that there must be many animals losing their habitats with us humans' progress. So how can we deal with those animals? Let them alone or give them a new home? Then it is Zoom that provides them habitats. For example, the Shanghai Zoo adopted over 1,000 animals every year in 2015 and 2016. And for which received careful examination and care while living in the zoo. And for some wounded animals, they will also receive some professional medical treatment. After they were back to their feet, they could be set free if possible. This kind of thing is just like an adoption for animals, so we should appreciate it. And moreover, zoos can also provide shelters for some endangered species, such as pandas and Elephas maximus. If we let them alone in the wild, they are very likely to extinct without special care. In the past, countless of species have died out, not only because of the natural selection, but also as human activity. Although the misfortune ever happened cannot be changed, we can try our best to save it now, and Zoom is actually trying to take this responsibility. For example, a researcher in the Zoom said that by using the technique nowadays, by raising and hatching, the survival rate of endangered birds can be up to 85%, which is much higher than in the wild. And the Arabian oxys is another successful case in saving endangered animals, which is turning into this picture in the wild. However, thanks to the conservation function of the Phoenix Zoom and others, they were now back to their feet. And there are over 1,000 of them in the wild, and thousands more looked after by Zooms worldwide. And for your questions, you mentioned that the elephant's life will be shortened in the Zoom, but this is just a certain species. In research, the cheetah lives 10 to 15 years in Zoom, while they can only live 6 years in the wild. And you mentioned that the Zooms are mainly artificial, but I think this is the drawback conception, because there are many Zooms that are very long size and can provide some free movement for animals, like the one in the South Africa. The size of this Zoom is almost half the Malay Peninsula, so it can also provide animals very free space.
The opposition second speaker for his speech, and now let's welcome the third speaker from proposition to continue the
First, let's consider a question: where does animals in zoos come from? In 2016, there are more than 30 young elephants were caught from Zimbabwe, and then they were sent to China. And 12 of them were or sent to the Shanghai Zoo you just mentioned. So imagine elephants were living happily in their hometown, but you caught them and sent them to zoos and then enslaved them. And another I want to state is that zoos have a very important function is to show animals to human, right? So why do you need to do that? We have other ways to help animals, just like you mentioned, to give them medical support, like sanctuary, and we can have professional people to give them medical support and to help them in a safe place, but without tourists to bother them. And as for the educational meanings, and so do you think that seeing animals captured in cages and without freedom can really teach people? It will only show that this is right to slave animals in cages and another I want to state is that you mentioned that we need to build zoos because their habitat is lost due to human activities. So why don't people change ourselves to make sure that they have more habitats instead of building more zoos in cities? Yeah, to preserve their own habitats. That's enough. Thank you.
Speakers and for the panelists to make their sound louder so we can both hear. So that's about the photo shows.
Good afternoon, dear ladies and gentlemen. Zoos also have great significance of educating the public, especially the children. Through the view of education, zoos are more like school without books. Firstly, field trips to zoos, being recognized widely by parents and teachers as an efficient way of studying the nature science are not only provided by zoos, but also some organizations like Will Smith Zoo School and Zoological Society. In addition, some famous zoos like Singapore Zoo, San Diego Zoo, and Great Vancouver Zoo, they also provide some professional camps, curriculums, and they allow children to talk with animal keepers. We think that through this way, getting children to exploring the world in the zoo can provide them a more direct way of studying the nature science, of knowing the beauty of animals, and furtherly motivate their love and bond for animals hidden in their hearts. This is just like the significance of that to science study. We can not only study the knowledge from textbooks, furtherly, when these kids grow up into adults who are more engaged in the whole society, these kids are more likely to play a great role in resisting the animal production trade, like the every trade as Steve mentioned before, and some even help promoting the animal production movements. Also, we should understand that the education in zoos is not about slave or that kind of things. Animals are now well treated in zoos, like Bob mentioned before. We give the great medical help, and we now provide them with large and good environments. And this can be when kids they go to schools for field trips or other kind of things. This can be easily achieved by some professional guiding and information listed on the board. In addition, if all the animals they live in the wild in scientific institutions, the public will eventually know nothing about the animals, and then they will care about them. That's a horrible thing that we all don't want to see. And I also want to talk something about the points Guy mentioned before. You think that the zoos are all about the animals living behind our walls in cages, but that's a opposite of animal of zoos. I can say that your opinion are all of this age, man. Modern zoos now provide large and beautiful environment for animals. When people go into some big zoos, the more common thing that they walk through the habitats of animals. Thank you.
Thank you, opposition speaker, for his speech. Now let's welcome the first speaker from proposition to close the floor for proposition temporary.
Good afternoon. Yes, as you just mentioned, that zoos is good for the education sector for kids. However, I just have some facts for you. After surveying over 2,800 children after both guided and unguided visits to London Zoo, 62% of children showed no indication of learning new facts about animals or environmental conservation, according to One Green Planet. This means even though there are so many animals in the zoo, also there are guardians, however, they can't do that. They can't achieve the goal to educate the kids in the right way. But why? First, the reason is that actually the education in zoos is a kind of misleading education. You may say that children can learn about the nature, however, it can influence one's values. When children go to zoos or see animals, what would they think when they see them in captivity, not having the least freedom or rights, staring at people with their hollow and helpless eyes? Of course, this action will influence the kids. They will take it for granted that some animals should be in cage, and they will take it for granted that even in society today, there are so many inequality in society. For example, the race, the color, and class. So many things happen. So is the violence, and so many things bad happening. And for the second is the misconception. Acceptable to keep in captivity and also undermine their conversation. In fact, numerous studies have shown that exhibiting animals in unnatural settings may undermine conservation by leaving the public with the idea that a species must not be in jeopardy if the government is being used for display or entertainment. And as for the third one, I think you mentioned one word is called efficient, right? And one important thing is what is really high efficiency. If you think that education in zoo is a kind of high efficiency, then I have a better way for you. The alternatives can be documentaries and education at school. For example, just in CCTV 9 or 7, the Animals World provide a good evidence for you. By watching such documents, even with VR technology today, children can learn in an original way of how wild animals behave, which actually have more education meaning because it's in a real natural setting instead of an artificial thing. And what's more important and very significant thing is that this high efficiency also we can do something better. A question, where do the dormitories come from? Actually, when we are helping animals, when we are giving their medical help, as you just mentioned, we can do one thing, we can film them, we can make it into a documentary, into a video. So this is a true one, and we are actually helping them simultaneously. And as for myself,
I thank the fourth speaker from proposition to wrap up this year debate temporarily. And now let's welcome the opposition fourth speaker to close the floor for the constitutional speech.
Honorable Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, I beg a favor. I will answer them a few questions and ask them a few questions. The first speaker said that in zoos, some zoos abuse animals, but actually all over the world we have laws that we can't abuse animals. So that this kind of rules is just the rules which are illegal. They do illegal things, so that means we need to improve the rules, not cancel the rules. And also the side that many zoos die in the center. Actually the thing is, there are much more animals die in the nature. Then why? You just say a small number of things.
And the second question you said is that we need to put animals in the nature. But the thing is, because of human activity, many of the species of nature are dying out. The animals, they don't have the nature, then where can they stay, where can they live? And also many animals, they are injured. If we put them in the nature, we just make them die. Also many animals are getting to the extinction. A study from IUCN found that zoos make contribution in the recovery of 28% of the threatened species. And also zoo has contributed at least 5,100 peer-reviewed articles on conservation over the past 20 years. You can see a lot of things that we do to the research of animals on how to protect animals. And the next thing you said that some animals in the zoos, their life expectancy are getting down. But the thing is, it's just a small property. When you walk on the road, you can also get crushed or get died by the cars. So it's just a small property, but you make it into a big picture. The next thing, the second speaker said that we put animals in the cages. But actually the thing is that it's just a picture of the old zoos. In the modern zoos, more animals are just live in the nature, in the zoo but also in the nature. Have you ever been to the night safari in Singapore? The animals live there very, very happy and safe in the zoos. And also, you said that what do we want to do by hurt the animals? The thing is, as I said before, we have laws and regulations that we can't hurt and abuse animals. So it's just some kind of thing that is illegal. So I think you get one of the topic. Today our topic is about why we need to debate, why we need to ban our zoos, but you said how to improve our zoos. So that's also our point about how to improve our zoos. Also, you said that where our animals come from. It's come from nature, it's true, but if we don't make them to Shanghai, how can we learn them, how can we study them, how can we educate them? Actually, we give them free air tickets to give them a chance to see the world. That's a cool thing, I think. And other things that you said, we have many other ways to help to protect animals. The thing is, we give a lot of medical support in the zoos, so it's also the things which happen in zoos. And also you said that in the zoos, the animals don't have freedom. The thing is, in many zoos, we don't have cages, so actually they have this kind of freedom. The thing you said is that we can't get efficient education, but we have long-term education in the zoos. Education is a long-term kind of thing. You can't see it in a short term. Thank you very much.
That's all the previous speakers for their speech, and now we are going to proceed into the rounds of free debate. It is free debate just a time reminder. After the time of every team's I think the fifth debate is for conclusion, so they will do this after. And just a brief reminder that your time starts when you get the chance to speak, and your time ends when the speaker sits down. So it is like, if I now say that a proposition now gives a question and they give option, but they do not stand up, their time is still counting. So you will have less time if you are sitting here thinking about it. Okay, so I think that's without further ado, we'll first hand over the floor to proposition to begin the free debate round.
They start first and they conclude last.
They conclude last.
Yeah, so
no, because let me say, this is one of the procedure. I will explain this now. So the procedure of giving proposition the last chance to speak is that because their first speaker do not have anyone to respond to, their first speaker is actually not debating, but they are making a speech. So in order to make it fair for proposition, you cannot always speak after that they have spoken. So that is why we are giving the conclusion to opposition first and then proposition last. So I think we will not change the rules for this. So proposition may begin now. Or if you wish to hand you a chance to debate it also.
I think that zoos are not the case in bad school and good school, because we need education, because we are all the product of education. So we are not debating today that whether schools should be banned. We're debating about whether we're not debating about whether schools should be banned. We're debating about whether zoos should be banned, because zoos shouldn't exist at the first place. Zoos originated as monarch showing their power, as rich showing of their wealth. Zoos originated as the product of human selfishness. So it's not a problem if zoos are bad. So if one zoo is bad, then we can close all the zoos because zoos shouldn't exist at the first place. What's more, I think that animals should belong to the wild. So bad schools is a kind in the wild they poaching animals, they endanger their habitats. These are the bad schools that you should use your regulation to rectify. Thank you.
Negative. The thing is, without zoos, we only can see animals as a photo in the museums. It's just like the way we see dinosaurs, but we can't do like that. Also, you said that we need to put animals in the nature, but actually many nature are dying out because of the human activity. Then what to do?
There are many ways that we can learn about animals, not only just watching them in zoos, but the zoos provide information are limited, like only their science are also only saying that things like their diet, their living environment, but not really into these animals. People learn little about animals. Family go to zoos not for protecting them, but for recreation. Thank you.
And I think if you abolish the zoos, then you lose the only chance you can see those animals in flesh. Then how can you solve this? By reading some documents you give them about that?
Of course not, because we also have some activities that we can go to the wild and like this is organized by some professional organizations that we won't harm their environment. Yeah, there are also these kinds of activities.
You mentioned that they go to a well to do some trades, but that's a ridiculous thing. Because you go to a well, you can really see some animals, but in zoos, in some large zoos, wildlife zoos, they have some professional field trips to the zoos. And just as they mentioned before, that there was a misleading in the education. That's totally wrong because the children they go to zoo. They're not themselves. There are some guiders and some animal keepers. They will do some professional teaching about them, and there are much information on the board. Also, I mentioned the word efficient. We're not going to educate all the students to be zoologists or scientists. We want these kids to grow up into adults who are responsible for this society, who are responsible for the animals. So to achieve this purpose, we can educate the children in zoos. They cannot only learn knowledge from textbooks, videos, or documentaries. They have to learn something in the zoo themselves. They have to see the animals. They have to feel their beauty, and so that when they go into adult, they won't hurt animals. They will promote the animal protection movement. Thank you.
Yes, just exactly actually say about the efficiency. And the efficiency is actually how to educate the kids in a right way and teach them the knowledge about animals. If you really want to know about the actions, the behaviors in the real world, why don't you choose a way to just volunteer in a natural preserve? And the number of people who can visit the nature preserve is limited, so we can minimize the negative effect on animals. And let's come to the first one what Harry has talked before. He talked about the park and the zoos are establishment of the park or garden. Park or garden, actually their goals are for what? For human, but not for animals. And usually we establish the zoos more for the animals protection instead of humans. If you want to set some places for aim to help the kids or aim to satisfy the human, maybe you can establish other places, for the amusement places. And as the Fisher has mentioned about the extinction, I have a statistics for you. To look at the loss of biodiversity and extinction, the number of extinctions of species should be examined. Rates of extinction are currently up to 40,000 species per year. And according to the World Wildlife Fund, this rate is about 50 to 100 times the natural rate of extinction, which means that if you are in a nature setting, you can be better. However, with the help of the human, the extinction is exactly true. So I think according to the Darwin theory many years ago, the natural selection and genetic diversity while in a natural setting can make it better.
So you mentioned efficiency, right? But in another research, it is said that if you want to see all the animals which contain in a small-sized zones, you need to walk about 29,000 kilometers. So do you think it is efficient?
But I want to ask you the purpose of seeing all the animals. Because many animals in zoos are not endangered, and endangered animals in zoos only have a very little percentage.
You said zoos is about entertainment, but it's not true because 43 countries have cancelled certain shows, and also 10 countries have cancelled animal performance, but there's no country that cancelled zoos. Then why?
You know, the purpose of the zoo is what? I want to first tell you the fact. Most zoos like to keep animals that are attractive and rare. Why? Because they want to attract more visitors. Then why they want to attract more visitors? Because more visitors means more profit. That is why some countries don't want to abolish zoos, because they want profit and they want to entertain their people. And I think the point is here, is it fair and reasonable to hurt animals and get benefits? Yes. Okay. First, not all of the zoos get benefits. Many zoos are free. Second, the benefits of the zoos get is to protect more animals. And okay.
Although intending to protect the endangered animals, as you mentioned in zoos, humans might fail to replace the great nurture, which is created by God. As the Bible says, through him all things were made, without him nothing was made that has been made. In consequence, why do the zoos exist?
So you don't have.
Okay.
Okay, so you said about the God or something like this. I have to mention that throughout the history, human and animals are not equal. They will never be equal. So when the animals are strong, they can easily eat the humans. So there was no equality in our discussion. So all the reasons you based on that is false. Otherwise, I can what Marco said about the things like keeping some attractive animals or something. I think the zoos is more kind of showing a diversity of all kinds of animals gathering around, so that people can know more about those animals. And then you mentioned about some profit things. I can show you that according to America Zoo and Aquarium Association, over 60% of the zoos of their credited zoos are not for profit. And then I think you may misunderstand something about some natural preserve or something. The natural habitat is not ideal as you think. There are a lot of things that may influence them.
You said humans push animals to die, but it's just human activity. It's nothing to do about zoos. And also, without zoos, how can we learn solo animal behavior, different species interaction, and human and animal interaction?
And also, I want to say about something about the impressions or something. You cannot simply just evaluate something through an investigation. And you know that there's a lot of something, not minor mistake, but big mistakes about evaluation things through a survey. So I don't think that the interest of a student or a youngster cannot be evaluated by simply a survey or this kind of thing.
And I want to add that many non-profit zoos are mainly depends on the natural foundation, so they might their aim was not to earn money but to protect the animals.
Okay, you mentioned the cages. I think the nature also has their edge compared with the whole universe. We are very small. So if the animal is they can't feel they are limited, and they become comfortable compared with they are in nature. That is enough.
You mentioned that there are only a small part of the animals are endangered in zoos, but there are more animals that are studied and treated well in zoos.
So I need to also clarify that we're not going to save or study a species only if it's surrendered. When it's threatened, when a species is not listed endangered, it does not mean that they are not facing problems. So
you cannot say anything now.
Okay.
Sorry. give a round of applause to all the debaters on the floor. So now it is time that we go back to the speeches. And now we will first welcome the opposition fifth speaker to close their case.
Okay, first I need to appreciate our opponent's hard work, but however, our standpoint is determined. Zoos should never be abolished. According to our definition about zoos is the place where wild animals are kept for the public to see and where they are studied, bred, and protected. It's a pity that we cannot reach an agreement. But your definition is way too narrow for today's discussion because we can easily find a lot of evidence that shows that there are a lot of scientific institutions or scientific centers located in the zoos. So I think your definition is way too narrow for this. Oh, okay, so I will conclude our parts. So first, zoos is the only way that people can learn about the wildlife in flesh. Without the zoos, animals will isolate it from us and they will only live in some lifeless data or only in our imaginations. And you also mentioned about seeking them in the wild. I think that is a good way. And also, a lot of zoos are doing that. They are building a habitat and let an entrance for the human to get in and see it. It's just like the night safari. Okay, and also we mentioned about the zoos can also play an important role in protecting animals. Undoubtedly, zoos are saving a lot of endangered species. It's an undeniable fact. And I think Bob listed some of the evidence that the zoos are protecting some endangered animals. So do you, and you also mentioned about some dysfunctions, maybe some misfunctions of the endangered animals when we keep them in the zoos. So do you rather just left out them in the wild to die, or just being kept by our by zoos and we can help them? And though there are some of the shortcomings, but we cannot deny the influence of the zoos. And then second, okay, and I will continue what the points I said before. When a species is not listed endangered, it does not mean that it's not facing problems. And also, studying those kind of not that endangered animals, we can contribute to the whole comprehension of the environment and also the protection of other related animals. And finally, we want to present us something like a measurement of whether we should abolish the zoos. Whether we should abolish the zoos should be comparing the benefits and the drawbacks. As you said before, a lot of animals in the zoos are not endangered. Yeah, exactly. And so these animals is only a fraction of their huge species. And also you talk about some negative effects. I admitted that there will be some negative effects, but that's the way we improve our zoo. So you just stressed the importance of building a zoo, and also by studying them, we can know more about the nature and also helping the related animals. And also, you mentioned a lot about natural preserve or something. So you're almost presenting an ideal world. Your world has a lot of hunters and disrupt habitat. So the world is not that ideal as you think. Thank you.
Thank you, the speaker from opposition, and now let's welcome the final speaker from proposition to end the debate.
So first of all, the opposite said our definition is wrong, and they gave a definition that the zoo is used for study and display. First of all, study is education. I'll mention education later in my conclusion. And second of all is display. Why would you have to display for the visitors? Okay. And second, William just mentioned that Sky had mentioned the abusing, but she has never mentioned that. Third, and all of the opponents mentioned the importance about education. Okay, but third of all, the third speaker of the opposite group said that it is not misleading children, but they didn't give a reason why it wasn't misleading. So now is the conclusion of our group. So first, the environment in zoos created by human beings can satisfy animals, especially to to harm to their health both mentally and physically. To illustrate, the spaces are limited compared with in the wild, and the interaction of animals is too little, and animals in zoos are not able to make any decisions about their own lives, so they may feel frustrated, depressed, and lonely. Second of all, the artificial environment in zoos is making animals lose their ability to survive in nature and their natural instinct. As mentioned in the opposite side, they said about the zoo nowadays is not as old as before, but it is, however, it is still artificial. It is not as good as in nature. Most of the animals die after being set free from zoos. They are losing their basic skills to live by themselves due to the special care of human beings. If the animals can even be in nature, what is the meaning to maintain the biodiversity by keeping them alive? Third, zoos are hindering the natural evolution. It is so ironic that human beings have done everything to destroy their habitats and harming the animals. And now we are coming back to claim that the zoos can protect them. Every step we take is ignoring the natural law. Last but not least, zoos do not educate people. They are not educational. On the contrary, they are harmful to the forming of one's ideology. People may take it for granted that the freedom of it is right to deprive the freedom of weaker creatures. So, you've mentioned that the animals and people are neither equal. Why is that? Is it because they're weaker? So is it right that we treat weaker people like this? Like we put all the Africans into cages? We will think that it is right to isolate animals' families to disturb them and make them live a completely meaningless life. If you insist that it is educational right, you're educating bad guys. To substitute for protection, the natural preservation is much better place for animals to live. For education, the documentaries and some wildlife observation alternatives is much better. Therefore, I know this
we thank all the debaters from this first round. Now let's give them another round of applause for their wonderful performance. Now, before we vote again, I would like the speakers from both sides to cross the floor and shake hands with your opponents.
这也太傻了！
我是不是应该抓拍一下这个细节？
你要很厉害，你更厉害，你更厉害，你们最厉害，特别厉害。
Now the debaters, after you have shaken the and I invite the audiences to still keep quiet because we have time to finish this round. Now it is time for all of the audiences to vote again and see how the debate has influenced your choice. So again, those who are for the motion, which means that they believe that zoos should be abolished, should raise their hands. Those who believe that zoos should be abolished, raise their hands, please. Those who believe who are against the motion, which means that zoos should not be abolished, please raise their hands. Debaters, please do not raise your hands. And those who abstain, please raise their hands. So after the debate, this House has decided that we are not going to abolish zoos based on a 0-9-1 split. No matter how the results are, you have all did a wonderful job in this debate. It was a close one and I really enjoyed it. And of course, I believe that audiences have also enjoyed it as well. Thank you very much for all.